Today's episode is sponsored by Dynasty Athletic Performance and NC Football Connections.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Season 365 podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on all platforms to stay updated with the latest episodes, coaching insights, and football conversations. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and X. Thank you for listening and being a part of our All Season 365 community. Today, we have a special guest. We have Coach Jerry Caldwell, head football coach at Chester High School in Chester, South Carolina. Coach, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. I tell you, you're an inspiration to me. I follow all of your content, really good content. I think you're always trying to help the profession. So just to get the opportunity to be on with you is a blessing for me.
Well, I truly appreciate it, Coach. And you know, for the listeners, you know, you missed a whole nother conversation before we went live. I've been tracking Coach for quite some time. I had a chance to sit in some of his sessions, and out of all the presenters, you know, he's always done a good job of making what he's presenting relevant to any level, any classification of football. I spend a good chunk of my coaching career on the offensive side, but I enjoy sitting in on defensive sides as well, just because my personal opinion, in order for you to understand offense, you got to know defense inside and out. And Coach does a great job of simplifying it and adjusting to fit his personnel at Chester High School.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get to it, Coach. Before we do that, give our listeners a quick snapshot of your career journey to this point.
It's a long. I took a non-traditional route. I played at Chester High School, graduated in 1995, signed a football scholarship, went and played 4 years at Georgia Tech. At the time, George O'Leary is my head coach. Had a great opportunity to play against some really super talented guys. Keith Brooken obviously played 15 years in the NFL. Joe Hamilton, fellow South Carolinian, was runner-up in the Heisman Trophy race. I mean, they're kind of all over the place. My roommate, college, played 6-7 years. Charlie Rogers played 6-7 years in the NFL. But one of the most valuable things that I had in my time there at Georgia Tech was my last year there. My defensive coordinator was Randy Edsall. Randy Edsall had come from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then our offensive coordinator at the time was Ralph Friedgen, who had been the offensive coordinator for the San Diego Chargers. So every day at practice was an NFL practice. And so I think that's where, you think football, and then you get guys who are, they're next level. I think people underestimate the ability or what NFL coaches can do, having to do nothing but football daily. And we got that opportunity. It's rare you get to go against a Heisman Trophy quarterback. One of the best to ever do. It's been in multiple Hall of Fames. So from there, like I said, I took a non-traditional route. At the time, my head coach said, hey, you wouldn't mind being a graduate assistant. I think, back in my era, that was like doom. Like, oh, Lord, nobody wants to do that's grunt work. You're going to carry coffee. You're going to do all these things. Yeah. And so I'm like, I don't know. So I graduated, left, went and worked in sales, went pharmaceutical sales for a little while, worked in sales, some corporate sales. Always wanted to get back into sports, went and got a master's degree because I thought I wanted to kind of get into the administrative side of things. And then I'll never forget, I was kind of looking out there. I'm like, man, I really want to get in and I want to do something. I want to be in the front office of an NFL team. Again, and I tell kids this, especially my kids, when you don't know what you don't know, you start, you chase. I've done a lot of things kind of trying to chase ultimately what makes me happy. And so then I went there. I went and got a third degree. Long story short, my mother moved back to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2015. Started coaching at Chester High School at the time. Coach Flores, my head coach. He says, if you plan on doing this long term, you need to get certified. And
there you go.
Went in the district at 2018, went undefeated, state championship that year. And I've been here kind of ever since. I've been the defense coordinator the last 7 years here. On top of that, I've been the special teams coordinator. And I'll tell people that this is a message. I know it's kind of down the line, but this is a message to young coaches. I was in a clinic one time, and one of the coaches said, everybody wants to be a coordinator. He said, but the thing is, people don't understand what it means to coordinate. He said, so if you want to be a coordinator, coordinate something, passing out jersey, whatever that coordination is, you need to do it. So at the time, I went to my head coach. I said, look, man, hey, can I coordinate special teams? He's like, sure, go ahead. Well, what happened was when I took over as defensive coordinator, he's kind of like, I want you to give up special teams. So I coordinated special teams for the last 7 years. I've coordinated special teams and defensive coordinator, which is perfect for me because now the relationships I'm able to build, was able to build at that time, is paying dividends now because you kind of get your hands on every kid. So
Mm-hmm.
just took over for as head football coach for this upcoming season. Super excited. I'm home.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I know there's a lot to come with that, especially in Chester, a small town. And I was joking with a guy in Subway the other day. I said, man, I said, hope y'all don't run me out of town. He said, well, you got two. He said, if you weren't from here, you'd have one. So I understand the pressure. Coach Floyd, who was here before me, has been here twice. I mean, he's had multiple state championship runner-ups. He's won one. So the bar is extremely high. And so I think that being able to follow in his shoes, I embrace that opportunity. I don't think because some people have to walk in opportunities where the program's dead. I mean, you got to revive it. I'm walking to a situation where, a few tweaks here and there, we're really good. Now we become even better. And so I've learned a lot from my former head coach, and I appreciate everything. We talk daily about just different things because I don't have all the answers. And I think that's one thing you understand as a head coach. I don't get. I'll be calling the defense still because I want to kind of maintain that. His message to me before he left was, "Don't ever give up what got you here." And so that's what I'll do this fall. But we talk all the time. I know he wants what's best for me, and sometimes you want the wisdom of someone who's done it. I mean, someone who's been in the place. What can I take away from it? I don't want to walk in thinking I know everything. In fact, some people think I'm crazy, but I say this. I didn't walk in and overhaul the whole program. I mean, he was doing a lot of things that worked. And so my job, I think, as an effective leader, what works, what doesn't work, what's not working, let's change it. But I don't think you overhaul kids who've been in the program for 4 years. And, I think that's a disservice to them. I think it's more egotistical of me to go that approach. And so I made sure I wanted to keep what's consistent because I wanted to be able to lean on our kids to continue doing what they've been taught to do.
Nicely stated, Coach. You hit on quite a few points.
Yes.
The most important is, hey, growth mindset.
Yes,
be where your feet are,
yes,
and love it. Let's go ahead and get to this defensive coach. Well, let's talk a little bit more details about your defense, Coach. So, when building a defensive system, what factors do you consider to ensure it fits your personnel rather than forcing players into a scheme?
You just hit the nail on the head. I tell people all the time. I think our success in Chester has been what it has been due largely to the fact of use of our personnel. We won a state championship with 27 kids on varsity. I mean, and some people, people would call all the time, like, what do y'all, like I had one coach tell me, how do y'all, I think we had a kid intercept the ball and then turn around and catch a touchdown the next play. He's like, how do y'all figure that stuff out? You don't have a choice. There is no figuring out. But I think defensively, one of the things I think that I try to do a really good job is I try to evaluate what kids can do. My theory around here has always been, don't tell me what they can't do. It's enough of them that can't do something. What can they do? And so that talk I did in North Carolina, it's people look at us like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. But my last sperm is 135, 38 pounds. But in 10 yards, he's about as quick as anybody in the country.
Yes, he was.
And so I tell people, if you can do it on the sideline because you don't have to get hit, but if your quarterback's standing there, he can get to him. And so we try to, in fact, this spring, what I did the first couple of days of our open season in March, there was no football talk. We kick, catch, pass, throw, run. Who can do what? I've identified 3 kids now who have never played football day in their life out using the block kicks because they're all the same body types. They're all fat. I mean, so I think those things. So defensively, what I look at it obviously is the personnel piece. That is important. The other piece I kind of take in mind is what is our path? Because I think it's up to the coaches to look down the road. Like, what does our path look like schedule-wise, right? Are we going to face wing T 5 times this year? Are we going to face air raid at some point? And I think from there, you have to have answers for all those things because those defenses, to me, yes, for us, our base defense looks the same, but how we attack, what we do is going to be different from a wing T team versus what we do to an air raid team. And so building that structure out, we don't fall in love with size. We don't fall in love with, prototypical measurements. We don't get into any of those stuff. In fact, I couldn't tell you we've ever clocked the 40 around here. Since I've been here, every once in a while we'll check a height and a weight, but being a really good football player is totally different from being a kid who tests well. Because I've seen a bunch of kids who test very well. A lot of places they can't play dead, right? So I tell my coaches, we don't want to be in that situation. Friday night is what we're aiming for. And so as I build that defense out is And then obviously with the numbers, one of the things we try to think about is who can play more than one spot. Right? Not from a size perspective, but who can. For me, I tell kids all the time, I don't know if I played in this era, I don't know if I can make it as far as I made it, back in my era. It was draw the hashes and hey, let's see what the tough is. But one thing I've always prided myself on was being able to process information and process it fast.
Yeah, there you go.
So those are things like for me, my Spurs are sometimes not the best athletes, but they can process it fast. And for me, that works for me because we bring a lot of pressure. And so they're going to be where they need to be. They're going to do the things they're going to do. So that's important too. Then you get into kind of some of the physical stuff. I mean, I like long DBs. It's like everybody else. I like DBs who's got some length. I mean, I don't care how fast they are. I know your quarterback better be perfect, right?
Right.
Based upon kind of what we're doing. So those things, and then obviously look at those intangibles, toughness, that physicality piece. Just how you have kids that some kids are just mentally tough kids, and I think it bodes well on the defense. They don't generally back down from anywhere. But structurally, we are a base 3-3 stack team, but it could morph into a whole lot of things. And I think the morphing of it doesn't do it all the time on film the week before because I'm well aware of what I'm putting on the field. So I don't if I plan on using it, there are times we work on things. If we got a big opponent down the road, there are things we work on in practice, but we never show in a game because I want the first time they see it is in that game. And so we've had some success doing that.
Nicely stated, Coach. So what are the non-negotiables or core principles that define your defensive system, regardless of opponent or even formation?
Knowing what to do. First of all, let me back up. Sorry. Where to line up, what to do, doing it fast, being physical while you do it. Those four things. I'm a firm believer in high school football. If you know to line up and know what to do, you're probably 60% towards the good. Now, unless a Jimmy or Joe just happen to be better than your Jimmy or Joe, but generally speaking, I look at the games we've lost, and I look at last year in the playoffs. We played Strom Thurmond, who was super duper talented. I mean, they got talent all over the field. They got a Division I receiver outside, but I look at them and they reset the formation every single play almost. And our kids have not lined up right yet. And I get it. It's that eye candy to kids, and they just, it's like, oh, they all spread it out. Okay, now they're about to throw the ball. Then they all not looking at personnel. And that's a fullback at one receiver, and that's a tight end another. It's 12 personnel, or it's whatever that number is. They're about to run the football at us, and before we figure it out. And so I think knowing what to do. I spend formation recognition time. In fact, before practice, we take 10 minutes line formations. I don't want formations, how many you see, what's our checks. I don't care about the call because the calls are relevant. We don't know it. So we'll do that almost every day. Just formation. I go through an opponent we got this year. I pull a scout book and let's just line up because I don't want to see surprise. I think nowadays because kids don't spend a lot of time with the game of football, it's easy to surprise them. And so I try to avoid those moments on Friday night. But those four things I stressed our coaches is they got to know where to line up, they got to know what to do, and they got to do it fast, and they got to be physical doing it. So
alignment and assignment, love it. So how do you evaluate whether a defensive issue is a scheme problem, a technique problem, or an execution problem?
Oh, wow. Generally, because I call the defense, I know what I'm trying to take away. If a run pops there at that moment, I'm saying we should have someone there. And then from there, I kind of work myself backwards, so to speak. I'm a little different in some ways in which I call defenses. Sometimes I'll call it for a formation. Sometimes I call it take away a particular person. Sometimes I call it, take away where we are on the field. So when you're trying to break down the film, it's not as clear cut as I know everybody has tendencies, and I have some, but it's not as clear cut because in my mind, I'm always trying to think, what's next? That's how I approach study. What's next? So yes, I can stop this, but what's off of it? So now I may call it because I know offenses are calling to set up their next play.
Correct. Yep.
I'm going to call something, give up the first down, give up a few yards. But once you go back to what your next thing is, I have an answer for it, or try to have an answer for it in that regard. So, one of the things that I think with a team that bring a lot of pressure is I tell our kids, you don't know when you're going to be the one to make the play, and I think that's important. Sometimes you get kids wanting to make the play, and I was reading. Well, I don't need you to read; I need you to take, because that allows us to figure out where we went wrong. You do something other than what we have, what we've game planned or what we're calling. Now we're guessing, saying, oh, well, if it does, now you're at a point where you're guessing to figure out if what you're doing is actually right. So we try to, that's that discipline piece we try to put in our kids. Do your job, right? When that play comes your way, you make that play. And there'll be more than enough of that. And so in the moment, I think coming back, when I first came back to Chester, I was shocked that teams were using instant replay. That was kind of
but hold up, man.
Yeah, that was because we're playing a school out of Rock Hill, man. It had a rain delay, and they're out there got these iPads. I'm like, what are they doing? And we hadn't stopped. I think the one kid is actually in the NFL now. The big tight end, Zach Ertz. The kid from Alabama. What's his name? It's the tight end, the big fullback tight. Plays with Seattle. At that time, man, they're making these adjustments, man. We hadn't found an answer yet, right? So it's like, so those things, I try to anticipate what's next. I'm not big on stopping because I know offenses don't structure their offenses to run base plays all night. I mean, they got
answers to answers, yeah.
Answers to answers. Absolutely. And I think that's where I always try to talk to my coaches about watching film. You can't be a casual fan watching film. You got to be a surgeon watching film.
Absolutely. Be
that takes time. Don't prepare when it's convenient. That's one of the things I express. You can't prepare out of convenience. I mean, I like being at home too, and I like, I like sitting down too. I like all those things, but I know having put a state championship ring on my finger, I know what that takes, and that's going to take what, as they say, the work is the work. And so I always challenge them to make sure that they're putting the necessary work in, because otherwise we're doing these kids a disservice.
Absolutely.
They only get 4 years. They only get one opportunity. And so it's up to us to give them the best experience possible. And I think that, which segues me into some of this transfer and stuff, I think, I don't always agree with it. I'm old school, been around a long time. Social media is cool. It's not, but I think you're missing the boat now. If you're saying, I'm not doing social media, you're missing the boat, because your kid's going to find somebody that will.
Yes, absolutely.
I posted a kid birthday the other day. I mean, you'd have thought I posted it. He had 52 offers. I mean, people it's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Not my thing, but that's that experience piece. I think you're at a point now. We're all at a point now as coaches where we have to give kids the best experience, and if you don't, they're going to find what they consider a better experience. I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying the parents are right, but they have every opportunity or every right to go seek out what they deem to be the best opportunity for them.
Yeah, nicely stated. And Coach, before I let you go, you got a lot going on down there, but before I let you go, and for those who don't know, man, Coach has been all over, 7-on-7 and all this. There's a lot of stuff going on. But before I let you go, what advice would you give a young defensive coordinator who wants to get the most out of their system without overwhelming their players?
One of the pieces of advice I've always gotten is it's not what you know. It's what the players can do. And I think that sounds very cliche-ish, but I think as a young coach, I got young coaches, and they're always kind of, Coach, we can run this and run this and run this. Well, okay, go out there and run it. And then they look up like, what? And they start screaming like, what are you screaming? What are you screaming about? I think to a young defensive coordinator, I think you obviously trust your prep work. I think one of the things you said when we first got on is, I am a habitual offender. I sit in offensive. I rarely sit in defensive clinic unless it's turnovers, tackling, or something specific that I'm looking for. I sit in offenses. I think as a defensive coordinator, you gotta get a feel for how coordinators think. Yes. Offensive coordinators, and they don't, obviously all of them think differently. They have their quirks, but there's some things that are very consistent when you talk about the offensive coordinator. So, one of the things I would challenge them is work, go learn. Don't think you know it all. I don't care what the paper says. I don't care what Chat GPT says. Go put the work in and go learn. Don't be afraid to ask questions. In the moment, I say that because in the moment you ask people a question, you feel stupid because they're like, over defense, undefeated. You're like, over defense, what's 11 personnel, what's 10 personnel? But that's okay. Those are all awkward moments. But what it does is you may run across a person. Look, I struggle with technique. So I was a defensive back in college, right? I knew everything on the back end. You couldn't tell, but I never fully understood the box. I had to put some time into understanding.
Some time into that.
these eyes and shades, and I don't know what this stuff is. I don't know what a 3 technique is. I don't know. But that's a learning thing. And I
Yeah, it
tell people,
is.
you want to be a coordinator, you
Mhm.
need to learn the defense. Not mean you're
Yes.
going to master the defense,
Mhm.
but you got to know. So when I'm calling it, one of the things that I think benefits me is I call all my defense with the back end in mind.
Mm.
Once I set the back end, I can control the back end,
Yeah.
which is why some of the stuff look a little funky. Like for instance, some of the ways we cover trips, people are like, I'm going to keep the box stacked against trips. I know teams, they try to stretch them out, but I tell my kids, we're not chasing at the high school level. I'm not chasing around. You show me you Patrick Mahomes and I'll chase it, until you show me that, we're not going to chase some of those things. Right. And so we can adjust, but I think that's, as a young coordinator, I think sometimes they see so much and there's so much to consume, and there's
so much.
And you've got to know your personnel. I think that's the number one place. You got to know your personnel. You've got to be willing to be honest with yourself. A kid 6'2", 230 pounds should be able to play linebacker, but
Right.
may not be able.
But here we need to play somewhere else.
Exactly.
And guess what? Because you spent time on the college level, and guess what? That college program is going to take that kid regardless and put them where they want him to be.
Absolutely.
So that's going to take care of itselse.
Absolutely. I think that's where high school coaches need to get to is, I know parents can be tough, but you've got to put kids in position to be, because your job is to put the best team on the field.
Yes,
I think the head coach that came from Tulane at Florida, I thought it was a really good conversation. He said, I had my coaches rank top players off the defense. And he said, so if I got 7 receivers in the top 11 players on offense, I'm not going to be with 3 tight ends on the field. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
I think that's a coach that's being aware. You're not sticking with the norms. I mean, you gotta. I'm challenging my offensive coordinator. I said, man, we want playmakers. We played Clinton High School out of South Carolina some years ago. I think in the wing T offense, you got your wings and all. It was their 4x100 track team. And then arguably at the B back is a kid named Bryson James. He's probably the best running back in the state at the time. So now you got to figure out, are we taking Belly away? Are we taking Bucks away? Are we taking Quick Talk? You're all over the place. You just don't have enough answers. And so that's why I challenge our OC is like, hey, get the playmakers on the field, make them figure out who to stop and not getting the ball. And so that's kind of where I look. But as a young coordinator, don't be afraid to go learn. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to be simple. Because being good and simple is better than being complex and bad.
There you go.
Right. So
preach.
Hopefully that'll help them out. But I'm always open. Learning is a thing. Spread offense, all this stuff was new to me when I first got back to football in 2015. I didn't know anything about it, or didn't know a lot about it. But I took the time and all those things. And I think those things make you better. Just make you a better coach. Allows you to. Last thing, I'll let you go. Last thing on this, also for a young defense coordinator, don't forsake individual work. I think where I'm finding now a lot of young coaches want everything's team and 7. You really get good in the individual. That's when you break your kid down, you pick them apart, and you put them back together. I say that 2018 had a kid, 10th grader, didn't know if he was going to play spur for me. I had him for an hour practice because he played no offense. So I had him hour individual every day. By the time we won the state championship, he was arguably the best defensive player we had. He had 6 turnovers in the playoff. But again, I picked him apart every single day. And so I think that's another thing. Don't get enamored with all the stuff that looks good. That hard work takes place in individual drills and challenge your assistant coaches. Get in Indy, let's pull them apart. There'll be time for teamwork. And so I think that'll give them a leg up.
Nicely stated, Coach. Well, thank you for listening to the Offseason 365 podcast. Our Coach Simmons here with Coach Caldwell, and we signing off.
Thank you so much.
Today's episode is sponsored by Dynasty Athletic Performance and NC Football Connections.